Do you remember Patty and Mick and Jimmy from the last video? Well, they were out fishing the other day, and Jimmy pulls a pack of smokes out of his pocket, and he looks in and he says, "Oh shit, I only got 4 cigarettes left." And he starts rooting around through all his pockets looking for his lighter. He says, Jesus, I can't find my lighter. How are we going to have a smoke? Friggin' Mick looks at him. He says, "Jimmy," he says, "take one of your cigarettes and throw it out the side, because then the boat will be a cigarette lighter."
Seriously? We're going to do that?
Alright folks, and welcome aboard the Building SHÉ 2024 recap. You better buckle up because it was a wild ride this year. We made a ton of progress, tackled some crazy projects, and had a few laughs along the way. So stick with us as we dive into the highlights.
We accomplished a lot in 2024, but we didn't quite hit all of our goals. And that's okay. Building a boat like this is no small feat.
If you're new here, my name is Rick, and I'm the idea guy.
And I'm Lori, the logical one.
Together, we're building our retirement dream boat right here in our own backyard in Iroquois, Ontario, Canada.
It has been a monumental project for us, and we're now entering season 14. Absolutely unbelievable.
Our boat's name is spelt SHEKON in English, but it's actually pronounced Sego, which is a Mohawk greeting that means greetings. It's a 31.5 foot diesel trawler, or down east style trawler, or lobster boat, whichever you prefer.
She's powered by a Yanmar 4JHTE turbo diesel. It's not brand new. It has very few hours on it.
From the moment we saw the plans for this boat and had an opportunity to buy a kit for it, we envisioned having a sturdy, capable boat with extended cruising capabilities that will take us along Canada's inland waterways and lakes, and even venturing farther south on the inland and coastal waterways of the United States. What's this? What is it? These are new mugs we've had made up for 2025. They were made by our dear friend Erica, and if you would like to have one of these little beauties for your very own, just leave us a comment down below, and after about 4 weeks we'll pull 2 random winners from everybody who's commented, and we'll send them anywhere in the world. So make sure you make a comment. Good luck.
Rick and I have some experience with small cruising boats. We owned a 25-foot sport cruiser that took us around the Golden Triangle, Kingston, Ottawa, and Montreal. And we spent many days cruising around our home port of Iroquois, Ontario. And now a bit about at MV SHEKON.
When we started building our boat, YouTube wasn't even a thing or on our radar for documenting our project. We had a blog that, just kind of fizzled out when our photo hosting site stopped supporting hot linking, and that was a real bummer.
In August of 2013, Rick started posting some short video updates on his progress. That was 261 episodes ago. The original intent of these videos was to show our grandson, Connor, just how crazy his grandpa was to build his own boat.
As time went by, more and more people started to follow along with our project, which encouraged us to keep documenting the project. I admit the videography wasn't exactly Oscar-worthy back then, but we're still learning and trying to improve as time goes by.
But we kept going. With minimal equipment and the original GoPro sports camera, improper lighting, and no real editing software, we forged ahead.
From the start, our little YouTube channel just kind of, cruised along, and a few people followed us, but it was took a couple of years before things started to pick up, and more and more people started to join up and follow our project.
But really, it's this past year when things have gotten really exciting.
Our little YouTube channel got a tremendous boost this year, thanks to a couple of our fellow YouTubers One was Renee from My Dreamboat Project, who joined us for an online chat. And what was the other guy's name? Oh, frig, what was his name?
Oh, yeah, and Joe from Motor City Boat Works. Oh my, he is a character. Joe documented his visit on video and produced an episode on his channel. The link is in the description below.
Since those two collaborations, our website really started to kick things up a notch or two. In the last year, our channel has delivered over 255,000 views, which is mind-boggling. 3,300 hours of watch time. That's including the short videos, but they don't really count. And we added 571 new subscribers. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Joe. If you've made it this far, you're all legends in our minds. If you could do us a favor, if you appreciate the effort that's gone into making this video, which has been considerable at this point in time, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. We certainly appreciate it. It helps keep the motivation to keep doing these videos and sharing them with everybody, and we would truly, truly appreciate it.
So now what we accomplished in 2024.
So we're here with you today to talk about what we accomplished in 2024. And there was a lot of stuff, so you might want to go grab a coffee, grab a snack, and sit back and relax and enjoy this show. It was a relatively mild winter last year and not much snow, so I was able to actually get into the boat shed with the thoughts of doing some work. I started on the inside of the boat in the forward part of the boat, and with the help of a little space heater named Stanley, it was warm enough that I was able to actually get some stuff done. It seemed logical to start to prep the hull for paint, and that meant some sanding and some fairing, especially in the forward V-berth, the head, and the storage areas.
Some painting was done, and then there was some structure to be added to the forward section of the boat. A bulkhead to complete the separation of the V-berth from the rest of the cabin was ordered.
Yes, dear. Message received, and I acted on that right away.
Cheeky bugger, isn't he? Anyhow, the bulkhead, as well as the sole for the head and some major storage cabinets, were framed up and roughed out.
Yeah, storage on a small boat like this is always an issue. Our decision to move the galley from the forward part of the boat up into the main cabin left us with a fairly decent space for some storage drawers and cabinets and a work surface, etc. And we also needed to have a space to accommodate our fairly large, fairly heavy 12-volt DC air conditioning unit.
Was there a plan for this area?
Yes, dear, there's always a plan. No, there really wasn't a plan for this area, but I had an idea in my mind of what I wanted to do and tried to make use of the space as best I can. So what we ended up with was a large cabinet with drawers and a work surface and some shelves and one large shelf that will accommodate the air conditioner, and maybe another drawer for tools. We need tools.
With the weather warming up a bit, Rick started to install some chase tubes and pulling some wires. This meant lifting the deck panels and crawling down into some tight spaces.
Oh joy, back down in the bilges again. Head down, face first, ass up in the air. You know the drill. But in hindsight, it's always 20.
An area for the main electrical box was put in front of the main bulkhead, separating the main cabin from the forward cabin, and directly in front of the helm station, where most, if not all, of the wires will terminate.
I do have some schematics for all the electrics on Sago, but they were designed more than 15 years ago and are drastically out of date. Back then when we designed it, lithium iron phosphate batteries weren't even a thing, and So the electrical system is continually evolving as we speak, and it's a lot like electronics. It should probably be near one of the last things that you buy and put in your boat. Um, but basically, we will have 400 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate batteries for the house loads. We'll have one Series 31 AGM battery to start the diesel engine, and a totally separate system which exists in the bow is a 200 amp hour AGM battery, and that's there to service the bow thruster and the windlass. These are all charged by shore power, solar power, and our small Honda generator if we need it. The boat should be adequately powered for all of our extended electrical needs.
I'm sure Rick has it all in hand. I've been looking at some of the major components sitting in our living room for over a year now.
Yes, dear, I'm getting to it. There's no need to remind me every 6 months.
With the warmer weather, it was time to get to work on the outside of the boat. The first task was glassing and fairing the side decks, foredeck, and forward cabin.
Way back when I was putting the side decks on, I had a lot of fitment issues with the plywood panels. They were already CNC cut, but because of my modifying the design and stretching it, things didn't exactly line up. But it took a lot of filling and fairing to get it to the point where we could put on the fiberglass laminates and then fair that.
Of course, I was instrumental in getting the work done. Rick is a lot more productive when I'm on the job and controlling the workflow. The forward deck and the forward cabin were going to be a major challenge to whip into shape. We worked together to get them all laminated with fiberglass.
Yes, it was. A lot of odd shapes and slightly wonky panel joints meant a lot of fairing. This all sort of went hand in hand with building the forecastle deck, which will support the anchor pulpit and windlass. All in all, I think it took me a good 2.5 months of solid work. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Productivity goes way up when Lori's around. She's a bit of a taskmaster, and this isn't exactly a union job either.
That was an odyssey.
I had a rough idea of how I wanted the forecastle to look, and it was one of these organic ideas that just sort of popped into my mind, and I just started to build it and worked through some of the issues as they popped up and went along, and it turned out okay.
Once the forecastle was built, it was time for final fairing prior to adding some primer to the whole top sides. Rick threw himself into the task, and he didn't have much experience in spray painting.
Yeah, that's definitely true. This is one of the areas where I stepped well outside my wheelhouse. I had a little bit of experience spraying some primer on the hull. That was sort of okay. I wasn't overly impressed with it, but I've also done a small repair on our old Chevrolet Camaro. So, as is common with me, I have the tools. I don't necessarily have the talent, but sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, damn the torpedoes, and go full speed ahead. So, and I jumped right over my head.
The primer went pretty well. Once the lighter colors of the primer were on the decks, forward cabin, and main cabin, many defects showed themselves. This meant days and days of more fairing and more layers of primer.
The fairing of these large panels, such as the forward cabin, the forward deck, and the main cabin side, it's a bit of a process. You fair it as best you can. You spray on some primer. The lighter color of the primer highlights a lot of the defects. Some of them are fairly large, so again you fill and you fair, and you cover it with primer again, And as you work through the process, the defects get smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where they're virtually microscopic. And that's pretty much where we are right now.
It should look really good when it's top coated. We're going to go with white decks and sand colored anti skid inserts. The forward cabin and main cabin sides will be oyster white. The main cabin top, which needs one more layer of fiberglass, will be whatever color of paint we have left.
Lori and I discussed quite extensively which marine paints to use for the exterior of the boat. And we really like the Alex Seal products, which if you've watched Andy on Boatworks today, you would be familiar with them because he's actually a retailer for those products. And they seem to be one of the best choices for the DIYer home gamer guys like me. After some long consideration and research, we looked at other paints, Interlux, Bright Sides, or some of the others. Forget.
If at some point in the future we decide we want to change colors, we can always have the option to repaint with Alex Seal later.
Total Boat Wet Edge, I think, is another one. Petit brand paints, and they're all relatively expensive. And we're on a pretty tight budget. So after a while, we used the Rust-Oleum marine primer, and it seemed okay, and I sprayed it on. So we decided to go with the Rust-Oleum marine paints. They're available locally. They're reasonably priced, and I can spray them as well. So the hull is going to be navy blue, and the main cabin sides, etc., are going to be oyster white.
With the seasons changing, we didn't have a weather window open long enough to add the last layer of fiberglass to the main cabin top, also known as the flight deck. That will be first up when things improve in the spring.
So about midway through our boat building season, I tried my hand again at steam bending some white oak, and this time I wanted to make some cap rails for the forward portion of the boat. I was somewhat successful. I'm not 100% pleased with them, so I may reevaluate steam bending and possibly, creating a template and sawing out the cap rails this year. So yeah, the weather's cooling down. I retreated into my workshop tent to begin some small projects. I butchered up a large piece of sapelli mahogany, which is absolutely gorgeous. This piece of mahogany came with our boat, and it was originally 3 pieces of mahogany laminated together, and it was originally intended to be used as a Samson post, and our Samson post, or mooring bit, whatever you want to call it, I'll show you here, was made up of that piece. But there was also some other little projects that I wanted to use it for.
The first project was making a mast for the main cabin top. The mast will accommodate the anchor light, nav light, and spreader lights and flags.
Over a year ago, I made a prototype for the mast out of some plywood offcuts. It was never actually intended to be the actual mast, but it served as a real good template to work from. It allowed me to determine the shape and the size that was proportional for the boat. I decided to laminate some white oak in between 2 layers of the sapelli mahogany on each side to form the main section of the mast. And the mast tabernacle was made out of solid sapelli. It swivels on a boat that will allow it to be lowered if needed.
One of the features we see on some older yachts are name boards. These are simple structures that hold the navigation lights, port and starboard, and the name of the boat, usually in ornately cast or carved letters.
It was pretty easy to make a mock-up of the name boards, just to check for size and scale, make sure it sort of fit the boat. And once that was figured out, I whipped up 2 name boards and mounted the nav lights on the port and starboard, and it only took me a couple of days. The name boards also got a first coat of tung oil, but that's not the final finish. We'll get to that in a future video.
Neither one of us is as spry as we once were. Sad side effect of getting older. So it was a foregone conclusion that there is a need for lots of hand grabs or handrails.
This is another one of my organic ideas that just kind of popped into the old noodle, and I just went ahead and did it without much thinking about it, and it turned out okay.
Oh, that's normal around here. He's the idea guy. Usually, it's up to me to make things actually happen.
Yes, dear. We all know you're the backbone of the project and the star of the show. Anyhow, I milled up some white oak to get it into dimensions that I could work with. I didn't have any high-grade white oak left. The stuff that I had some knots and defects, and I was able to work around those to make some grab rails. Again, they turned out pretty good. They're more functional. Yeah, again, the handrails were another organic idea that just popped into the old noodle, and I sat down and I laid them out and I cut them out and made a lot of sawdust. I originally tried to find some drawings or dimensions on the interwebs for making grab wheels, but or grab handles or grab rails, whatever you want to call them. So I just winged it, and they apparently seemed to work out okay. I learned a lot, and I'm going to change a few, and that's normal with this project. We do things right because we do them twice, 3 times, 4 times, etc. You know what I'm talking about.
There were a few smaller projects that followed, standoffs for the solar panels, etc.
So there you have it, folks. That pretty much wraps up what we got done this year. If you've been following along, it was a hell of a ride. If you haven't followed along, I've put links to all 42 episodes in the description. I expect you all to go and watch them.
It was thrilling to see our project transform into the boat of our dreams. Even just adding the primer made a huge difference in the look of the boat.
Oh yeah, words can't describe how much I hated looking at all that bare fiberglass. And now that it's got primer on it, it actually looks like a boat.
We'd like to give a huge shout out to Joe from Motor City Boat Works and Renee from My Dream Boat Project for their kind assistance with our YouTube channel. Your support and the channel's continued growth give us motivation to keep making these videos.
Better shots. It's pretty hard in confined spaces sometimes. But I've still got challenges with cameras and sound and editing software that I have. If you've got any recommendations on a better camera and software, then just leave us a note in the comments below. Help a guy out.
So without any more backslapping, fanfare, or marching bands, we'll let you go for now. Thank you so much for sticking with us over the last year. We truly appreciate you all visiting our little channel every week to see what we've been up to.
So there you have it, folks. Another season is over, and another very, very exciting one is on the horizon. From Lori and I, we hope you have a very happy and productive 2025. Cheers.
Cheers.